We'll talk about some of my other first-round running backs. As you can see, again, that's just kind of out of spite having McCaffrey at 3. I think any sane person has him at 2. And if you don't get Taylor, you're probably going McCaffrey. That's how Underdog's going right now. It's one of the two at the top. My number 2, though, is Ekeler. And then I go Dalvin Cook, Henry, Joe Mixon, and Harris. So I don't know if you want to go one by one.
Let's hone in on Ekeler. Let's go.
All righty, let's do it. What's your thoughts on him? I have him at 2. I absolutely love him, and I can tell you why, but I'd love to hear your case first.
Yeah, he is my RB8, I think.
Ooh, okay.
So, I mean, obviously I love Ekeler. Like I've been talking about this for a long time. Like he's always been sort of like a poor man's Alvin Kamara, but like near even to Kamara in hyper efficiency. And when I say that, I've also been saying Alvin Kamara is arguably the most efficient fantasy running back in NFL history. Yeah. There's a number of key data points to support that. He's a highest end. If he's not a highest end bell cow, he was last year. He's at least a highest end scat back on steroids, like an Alvin Kamara, like a Christian McCaffrey. Like he is like a slot wide receiver in terms of his pass catching upside. And this offense is amazing. Justin Herbert is amazing. And he saw the best usage of his career last year. But here are my concerns. So Tom Telesco, the GM, told reporters in March he wanted to reduce Austin Ekeler's workload in 2022. And then the team drafted Isaiah Spiller in round 4, who, by the way, I don't like. I don't think he's very good. But then Austin Ekeler himself came out on a podcast and said he went directly to management and advocated for fewer touches, for them to limit his touches to make sure he can make it through the entire season. Beyond that, Ekeler is far and away the most the most likely player to regress in touchdowns. He outscored his touchdown expectation by 8.4, which is like one of the highest marks I've ever seen. And again, like he is hyper efficient. He is phenomenal. But like 8.4 touchdowns times 6 divided by 17 games, like that is not an insignificant differential. And then beyond that, the question is like, okay, what does Isaiah Spiller get? If he gets carries outside of the red zone, it's basically irrelevant. If he gets, some targets and some carries outside the red zone, like, okay. The big concern would be he gets near end zone opportunity. And why that particularly worries me is because he never had that role prior to last season. 2 seasons ago, he ranked 4th on the team in carries inside the 10-yard line. He had just 40% of the team's backfield XTD. Last year, that jumped to 70%. What happened is total touchdowns jumped from 4 to 20. So like, again, like he was amazing in that role. I think he's deserving of that role. But the bottom line is like, I love Ekeler. I think he's like a great high floor option, but I do think he overachieved. I do think he's going to see fewer touches. And yeah, I mean, like the ranking makes it seem like I'm a lot lower on him than I should be, but these are my concerns, and I'm very eager to hear your counter.
Yeah, so they all valid concerns, but one, let me just remind you, one of the first times you came on here, you did point out Ekeler when he was going around like 7 or 8 was going to be a league winner. So he is our boy forever and ever.
That's right.
We'll always share that for sure. But to address some of those concerns, I hear a lot of the regression candidate talk, and a couple years ago, this is how many he was having. But one of the big things for me is last year was his first year in this new offense. Joe Lombardi coming over from the Saints, as you compared it to Kamara, brings over that Saints-style offense, uses him as an almost souped-up style of Kamara, and all he did was reward him for all the touches. As you said, 20 touchdowns. I mean, Ekeler's just so damn good, so slippery at getting behind his blockers, so just efficient in those red zones and capping off those drives that if it's a close game, and when you think about that division, I think all the games are going to be damn close in that division. Are you really going to take Ekeler, who you know is going to get you that touchdown, off the field for Isaiah Spiller? Spiller might be good. And if they're closing out the clock and bleeding things and they already have a 2-touchdown lead and they're smashing the Texans, yeah, Spiller will probably start to finish off those drives, and I get it. But more often than not in this division, I really think it's going to be coming down to the wire. They're going to need a clutch play, and they're going to need their man Ekeler in there. You think about the snaps and touches last year, he still was only at, and only, I mean, 67% of the snaps, 67% of the opportunity.
Right. But I mean, that caps his upside, and I think it's going down. But,
yeah, it could go down a little bit, but how much is it going to go down, right? 60% at worst, so.
Right. I don't like Spiller. Justin Herbert could be MVP this year. Chargers could win the Super Bowl this year. I think the blind spot I have specifically with this piece is I just wrote 16,000 words, and the focus of the article is looking at the value of roles.
Yeah.
Which can distract me from just the player's talent. And so I can't lose sight of that. And like you said, like what have we been saying is we know he's like one of the most efficient running backs in all of football. He's a phenomenal talent.
And so I think that role is good under Joe Lombardi. I mean, again, just consider, I know it could be considered an outlier year, but it was also his first year with Joe Lombardi, with Justin Herbert as a full-time starter. I only see the offense getting better. I only think Herbert's going to get better. The line, they added a first-round guard. So, I mean, they're already ascending as a line. Maybe he regresses a little bit as a scorer. At 20 touchdowns, did lead the NFL last year. But he's going to be top 3 in running back targets. He has been for 3 straight. That's not going to change. It didn't change in this offense. Won't change this year. Maybe a little bit of touchdown regression. But again, I think it's just going to be such tight games, and they're going to want their man to pound that thing in and cap off the drives when they get in there. So even if it's a little bit less than the 67% of snaps and touches, I don't see it having I still think 15 touchdowns and, right around 1,500, 1,800 yards with 80 receptions to go with it. To me, it's a pretty good floor. Like, he can only regress so much, in my opinion, from the touches and the scores in this offense and with an improved line. I don't know. What do you think?
The last thing I'll say, these were great points. The last thing I'll say is with Joe Lombardi specifically is he underutilized Reggie Bush. He kept Darren Sproles in that scat back role. He kept Kamara, didn't see his best usage by snap share, XFP share until last season. And now they're talking about reducing his volume. But we're going to revisit Ekeler when we talk about, I think, your RB13 or something. Okay. So we'll put a pin in this for now.
I know who that is, and I have to bump him up. There's no real excuse.
I mean, I don't know because we'll get to it.
We'll get to him for sure.
What is up, you fantasy wolf? Thanks so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, share your thoughts in the comments, check out some more videos, and join the newest Wolfpack by subscribing below.